Good morning, everyone. This is Ron. It is a little after 11 a.m. Sunday morning. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll open with questions. See if we have any questions from yesterday or for anything else that may have grabbed your attention. Questions or comments. Okay.
Ron, this is Evelyn.
Hey, Evelyn, how are you this morning?
Good morning. It's a good morning. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
Everything everybody said yesterday was good. It resonated with me, and I just appreciate my family. Audrey triggered something also in me about the assembly of ourselves, and I thought about, and we probably have already said this before numerous times, but sometimes things like this click in you. Every concept that we read about in the Bible is us having to know who we are or having to deal with certain situations. Am I not correct with that?
You're exactly correct. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
no. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, Pastor and I had discussed that very same thing, but go ahead. Go ahead, and I want to hear from your perspective.
But yeah, it just triggered something in me because we so busy looking at things externally when it's all about us internally. And Pastor said one time, a long time ago, suppose we were the Bible. And that stuck with me as well. So the more we talk about what's happening and revisiting the scriptures and everything, it's like we find something new every time. As Barbara said, we keep pulling back the layers of the onion. And I just wanted to, that what she said just stuck with me yesterday. And we said, yeah, I'm done. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. That's an excellent start to our day, and I couldn't agree more. Uh, isn't that a beautiful feeling? The allowing yourself to be transformed in this way, and what that feels like, and the acceptance of it, and being in rhythm with, is a tremendous feeling. And I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Uh, Couple of things. One, you hear me say often, and I say this not only as encouragement but as appreciation. Uh, I was mentioning to Pastor earlier too that my appreciation of how we do our lessons, and you guys have heard me say that before, but as a facilitator, uh, one of your most important jobs is to listen. Is to listen, and I don't say this uh, really to anybody but me. I'm just saying it out loud. I got to get better at that portion of it, uh, because a couple of things I want to start off with today were me, pondering things or that had been said that I missed, and so that's the beauty of what we do, because somebody picks up on it. Somebody hears it and picks up on it and runs with it. So it may be my shortcoming, or it may not be my shortcoming. Maybe it was intended that way, so that it will garner a deeper, in-depth discussion. So that is appreciated. But there was something that was said yesterday by George when we were looking at the assembling together in where were we? We were in Hebrews 10, and we were looking at that. And George made the statement about assembling with people and not wanting people that are like-minded like him. And I spoke on the like-mindedness part of it, but I did not speak on the diverse part of it, which was also pretty interesting, I thought. Uh, and so Kathy mentioned something to me that I thought was quite interesting, and I was wondering if she's on the line and she'd like to go into that aspect of it, if she would please, because I thought it was added greatly to, or would add greatly to the discussion. Are you on, Kathy?
Yes, good morning. I was
Good
just
morning.
asking, I hope everyone's well today. I was only asking based on what George had said yesterday about assembling with people who had different observations, different opinions from his. And I took that and put it together with what Audrey had said about assembling yourself, getting yourself together to recognize who you are. And in looking at what George had said on yesterday, it is that diversity that we each are. We already are assembling together, because even though we are becoming more like-minded, and what I mean by like-minded, as we are learning who we are, it takes us to a place of unity and oneness, but it never takes away the essence of who we are as individuals. We are always going to approach things from the standpoint of, I am uniquely Kathy, you're uniquely Ron. We're unique individuals as who we are, and we are diverse in who we are. But even through that diversity, it still brings us to a place of unity and like-mindedness, even with our different opinions. When we receive what is being taught, we are processing it as individuals. And like Evelyn was saying this morning, when something resonates in me, it wakes something up in me and it shows me a little more of who I am. That to me is the assembling of myself together, but it still is giving me that opportunity. It doesn't take away my ability to be that individual that I am, that unique individual that I am, because we each are going to approach what we're learning based on who we are. And I just didn't want to miss that point, because I thought, well, that's a very interesting point of view, because yes, you are still assembling yourself with people who are diverse, but who are learning what it means to become one as an individual first, and then seeing the unicity with everyone else. So I just wanted to share that. I hope that made sense this morning, but thank you.
No, thank you. Yes, it makes perfectly good sense. Uh, and even tying it into the other scripture that we looked at, and we talked about all the people coming from different areas, from different parts of that countryside, and on this side of the Jordan, on that side of the Jordan, it speaks of the diversity, and I think that just ties in beautifully, and it also speaks to the give some explanation of why the Bible is so redundant. It finds different ways to say the same things, give us the message, because each one of us hears and receives things differently based on our backgrounds and what our experiences have been. So, good observation. Anyone else? Questions or comments? Okay.
I think, Ron, I have a quick comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. I think what Kathy is saying is true, because I always say that everybody has to find their own path. Because we do all come from different backgrounds, different experiences, and we have to take whatever has been our path and assimilate it within ourselves, so that we do come to some place of that we are like-minded with the Creator. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with her point of view.
Thank you. While you were talking, I guess when there are things that happen in life that forces us to reach into our core meaning exactly who we are, without all the baggage, without all the stuff we piled in front of it, whether it be for our own pleasure or our own survival for that matter. But when we reach into our core, and a couple of things that takes that kind of stands out to me. I remember when 9/11 happened, and churches were packed that Sunday because people were forced to look inside of themselves and see who they really are and what was really important. It scared everybody, and mostly everybody, let's say. And people had to look internally and see, whoa, and all the external things took a back burner or became secondary. The same thing happened when the pandemic first hit, and the whole world took a pause, and it's like, what is this? And so there comes a time that I think from looking at the scriptures that we will all have to look into our core, look into your belly, look into your gut, look into that heart, look into that birthing place inside of you, and take a good look at who you are. And what we have decided to do is to do that not only for ourselves, but for the entire earth. And that takes on takes you to a different place of consciousness, takes you to a new place of awareness, and even gives you new desires and new hopes, and you see new riches and new treasures and those sorts of things. So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you. It is something that is extremely necessary. And it is also a journey that I think that every part of man will have to take, and I mean by every man, woman, and child, all of mankind. So, questions or comments, anybody? Okay. Something else that was said on yesterday that I thought was extremely significant, and I think Pastor did a great job of explaining this, but it hit me after we got off the line, the in-depthness, the real gut of this, what this meant when he talked about Jesus, because throughout religion, in our own reading and our own pulling things together, we always see him going up on a mountain, and we think that's a good thing. He's going up to meditate and to gather himself or his thoughts together and be one with the Father. And Pastor opened it up yesterday to show us something else. And I wanted to ask him to kind of elaborate on that again, just for the experiences of Jesus going up there, what that not only meant for us, what we are to see from that, but what challenges were he facing as well. Pastor, would you please?
Oh, yes. Good morning, everyone. Yesterday, and speaking about that, what I saw is Jesus being carried to a place of enlightenment after having observed the miracle. And when he got to that place, we talk about the mountain that he had gone into, this desert place. And the desert place simply speaks about him being in a place that's not known for the production of life or the sustaining of life. So what I saw in that is we talk about going to a higher place of consciousness, a higher place of awareness, yet we overlooked the portions of trial that he went through when you talked about him being offered the kingdoms of the world, changing the stone into bread, jumping from the tower, because the angels had charge over him, he would be protected. All these things, we didn't look at those as being a part of our desire for a higher state of consciousness, meaning that the trials and tribulations that we face, we see them separate from the inspiration that we receive from this higher state of consciousness. Yet, what Jesus was actually saying to us is this: when you enter a desire, a state of higher consciousness, you are opening yourself up for trial. You're opening yourself up for adversity. And if you yield to that adversity, you start all over again at the point of being receiving Migwa. However, if you meet every challenge with the word, with the understanding of the words from the Creator, you will not only be enlightened, you will be, because it says, after he had gone through this trial, these temptations, the angels watched over him or took charge of him or ministered to him. And that simply means that the thoughts and the words of our Creator were the source of strengthening him, because the word angel is not some little chubby kid painted in the Sistine Chapel. It's not that God came back to get somebody who's an angel. That's not it at all. The angel means message as well as messenger. The message comes through a messenger. And there are times when that message is you. And one of the times when that message is you is when you are seeking the apex of our wisdom, when you're seeking to understand everything spiritually, when you're seeking to journey on this spiritual pathway, not knowing what's to come, but embracing the reality of the Creator. It is during that period that a purging takes place. And that purging that takes place is not just what's in us, but is also how we respond to the circumstances that we find ourselves in. And we have have been responding, either is why me, God, the very last usually is what am I to learn from this, as opposed to looking at the challenge and making a decision based upon the principles of the scripture as to how we're going to deal with it. When Jesus was confronted with changing the stone to bread, his response was, man shall not live by bread alone. So these are the responses he's saying to us. You have within you the words, the strength, the power to respond to these adversities. I keep coming back to this. When Kathy was dealing with some adversities in her life, how she said she sat with them. But first of all, that has not always been her first response. And I don't know that because I know that because it's never been our first response. Our first response was always to make it right ourselves or to find somebody to do it. However, because of her seeking the understanding of the wisdom of our Creator, she listened to the words internally, and those words were a message from the Creator. Sit with it. Don't make a decision. Sit with it. Embrace it. And you will get the answer. You will see the journey you must take to face this. And in doing that, everything settled with her. That's the same thing Jesus did. And that's the same thing that we do on many occasions, but we do it because we are trying to find an answer without realizing that we are the answer, because we are the message. Evelyn said, she remembered my saying about we are the Bible. And she's absolutely right. I did say that. However, now I would amend that by saying we are the word of our Creator. That's who we are. It's not words, it's the word of our Creator. Because everything that's said, every paragraph, every sentence, all of it is all about one word, Elohim. And so when we are on in our space seeking wisdom, when there are forces that come to us that pushes us to a place of asking, why is it that every time I seem to be moving forward, I'm pushed backwards? The only reason you're pushed backwards is because you travel backwards on your own. If you persevere in the face of that adversity, you will see that you are the answer to every single one of them, as Jesus was in his desert place, in his moment of embracing the mistress of our Creator. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments, y'all? Pastor, you said a lot of stuff. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because he was talking about, this is Evelyn again, he was talking about how Kathy sat with what she was dealing with. And I'm quite sure she's over it. At least I'm thinking that she is over what happened. But my situation, as far as like with my job, remember I told y'all about how that young guy got the position? Well, I too sat with what had happened, and we finally had a staff meeting with him. And for some reason, I sat across from him. And during the whole meeting, he looked at me the whole time. And I knew that other people were looking at me as well during the meeting. So every time he would make a statement about something or something that he wanted to do, I just nodded my head and let him know, you know what, I'm with you on this. And we had some people who didn't like what he was saying, but you know, I'm there to do my job and to get paid. But I said that to say this: we set the motion of everything. And again, when Kathy said that she just sat with the situation, I can relate to that, and I'm quite sure all of us can. But that's the status on what happened with me. I just sat with the thing. The sting is out. That sting that was left inside of me. I was bitter. I was angry. I was mad. Y'all knew the situation, because I know y'all felt how the way I was talking on the phone. But yes, when we just sit with things and just let the Creator, just let things be, we'll see tremendous change. And that's where I am now. Thank you for listening. I'm done.
Evan, as well as the rest of us, you were actually what we call being angry, some upset about it. The only time we are angry or upset about things is when we feel like we cannot do anything about it or we can't control it. However, when we are upset about things, that is the inner self telling us we are searching for wisdom. These circumstances that we find ourselves in that we wish we never had to experience are opportunities for us to receive wisdom. The opportunities for us to embrace the understandings that we are receiving from the teachings of Jesus. So if we think about it that way, I do believe that we would fare better than we do when we have to come back from being angry. If we can see immediately this is pushing me towards a greater understanding, it would be different, I do think. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I guess it reminded me of what I was saying yesterday about the young lady whose neighbor put up the flag, and what I said to her was healing for me and for her. But what I said was maybe this is to that happens so that you can see where you are, who you are, and not live in fear. Maybe this is to show you that there's peace in you, and to search for that peace and not let these things bother you. And that's what made me think about fear. I mean, this is the energy that our feelings and emotions and our angers and our disappointments are things that keep the world going, because people take those and use that energy to their advantage. So I couldn't agree more. It's opportunity for inspection of who we are, and opportunity to see the enlightenment that we are, I guess. I hope I'm supporting what you said, Pastor. Just that's what came to me.
Of course.
It makes a lot of sense. And it resonates with me. And also, I told the guy, his name, well, I have no name, but anyway, I told him, I said, you know what? You did very good for that meeting. This is your first meeting. Kudos to you. And people looked at me because they knew I was bitter, but they looked at me like, what? I know we're not in places for just to be there. There's no coincidence. We're in the positions that we in. We're there to make a change. So I'm just grateful for my family and everyone for helping me get through what I went through. Because I know you guys we carry each other, whether we know it or not. And I'm just grateful. I'm done.
You gave everyone the opportunity to drink from the cup at the table with Jesus. That communion that we took is symbolic of something totally different than what we have been taught. And one of those things is when you do that and others are seeing that you're not bitter, that you have embraced the reality of what is, then they are drinking from the cup that you have handed them. I'm done.
And also, Ron, if I may, and speak and listening to what Evelyn
George,
said.
could you speak up, George?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That's better, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to just say that in terms of Evelyn's experience and what she shared, I truly, believe that she moved from self-consciousness into a higher level of thinking in terms of cosmic consciousness. And so again, in terms of just her higher level of thinking, being in that situation, again, she was able to elevate herself in terms of her true self, operating, in that spiritual realm of her being Elohim. And so I see that, experience as one that we all have gone through, experiences where we can see it now for the good of humanity, but more importantly, her moving into another level of that consciousness as far as cosmically. So I just wanted to share those thoughts, but I appreciate, what she said. I'm done.
Thank you, George. And just to make sure everybody understands, when you do say cosmic consciousness, we're just, I guess it is the same way as saying one with the universe. I think you're being a little more detailed. Can you go into it a little bit? Because I think because I would say one with the universe. I'm at the same place with you, right?
Absolutely, Ron. And again, I think that as we talk about as so above, so below, there's things that we're experiencing in the natural. But as we come to know our true selves operating, well, not operating, but being Elohim, we're looking beyond, necessarily the thoughts, but see the need of how we bring loving kindness, harmony, and balance to the places that the
Mhm.
creative places in. Because there's her other co-workers who may look at it in the natural, but Evelyn is taking them to a higher level of understanding by being the Elohim that she is, if that resonates.
It does resonate, and as what she did and what you're supporting is uh, her experience is an example of what Jesus went through in that elevation. As we think that it is all I'm one with the Creator and what that looks like. It takes me back, George, to something Pastor said years ago. The more godly we become, the more ungodly it seems, meaning that this God that we have come accustomed to through our religion is not what Elohim actually looks like. And so her experience is based on how she, her attitude toward them did take her to a higher level of consciousness. So yeah, that's an excellent example.
Ron,
Yes, ma'am.
I think I have a question, or maybe it's just a comment. I'm not sure. Let me put it out there. Based on what Pastor just said about Jesus going up into the mountain and looking at that as higher elevation, where he needed for the angels or the message to minister to him. Are
Mhm.
we saying that as we begin to assemble ourselves, sit with ourselves, have a higher level of awareness of who we are, situations we should prepare to have more situations where we're going to need to sit with ourselves, sit with the message of what we've been taught, and allow it to help assemble us and put us together, that we're going to have more opportunities to be put in that position for this to occur? Is that what you were saying when you were speaking of, Pastor, the elevation? Not, you always think in the past we were taught being elevated, having an elevated mind, or being elevated was this end all to be all. But what we're learning is that is just a place of self-awareness when we're discovering who we are, and we're allowing the word, the message, like Evelyn just said, thank you, family, for what you teach. It helps. That's the angels. That's the message. That's the word, quote unquote. I'm using this term loosely, doing my air quotes, ministering to me. So are you saying, Pastor, that we can look forward to having more opportunities to sit with stuff, is what I'm asking?
Yes and no. What happens is when we do it, the day comes when we do not have to sit with it anymore. Our response is instantaneous, like Jesus. Jesus did not have to sit with what he was facing. He spoke immediately. So what I'm saying is that we go through a period. And I don't want to get into the reason Jesus was able to do this, not at this point anyway. You get to the place you don't have to sit anymore. Your response is instantaneous. And when that happens, this is, George said earlier, as all of us say at times, the Elohim that you are in reference to Evelyn, is not so much the Elohim that we are, but we grow to the place where we don't have to qualify that. The reason we qualify, and I'm talking about every one of us, the reason we qualify is because of the settings that we've come out of and the people we interact with. And we don't want to be offensive by saying that you are able to do what you did because you are Elohim. So we qualify with being Elohim, or the Elohim that I am. We qualified with those words when we shouldn't be doing that. When we get comfortable with that, that is this space where we begin to response without any gap between the circumstance and our response. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Good question. Thank you. Anyone else? Anything else?
Hey, Ron, this is Rania.
Hey,
I'll
Rania.
share just quickly, hey, something I'm going through and still going through it. And it's been interesting because it hasn't been quite the easiest path to get there. But my youngest son, I think I shared with everyone who was diagnosed with ADHD and autism. And he just started the 3rd grade. And we'd worked last year with his school to put an IEP in place at the end of the year. And this year he's gone to a new classroom, new students, new teacher. That was in place. And we're starting to see issues in class. He's also started some medication to help him. But we're still seeing a lot of the similar issues. So even though this IEP is in place, the issues are there, and they hadn't put a behavioral plan in place, and the school just doesn't seem to quite get it. They shared with me early on in the school year, the first time it happened, that that they only have what they have. They even suggested that I come and work at school from another room so I could be on site, and I said that can't be part of your plan for him, that I be on site. And so I waited for our first IEP meeting of this year, and they had really no actionable stuff other than just more therapy that really doesn't unite the plan under like a behavioral therapy plan. And I finally, I was talking to our family therapist about our options, and she shared a couple of them, or 3 of them. And the 3rd one was the hardest for me to stomach because it means disrupting. Going up against the school and potentially hiring a lawyer and fighting for him to get into a placement that's better for him. And I tried the first 2, I tried the let's wait and see in a couple weeks what happens. And we had changed his meds and again, stuff's happening. And I talked to the teacher on Friday about the incident and just seeing her attitude about it and her kind of, oh, why me? Almost like he just does this. I don't know when he's gonna go off. I don't know what to do. And I'm providing suggestions, and it's still the same response of he scares the other kids, kind of thing. And talking to my local school district didn't help. And so finally, we've decided to go with the 3rd option, which is I'm adding, the verbiage to say that I'm escalating this. And it was the hardest one. And, I remember thinking, when God opens the door, you just walk right through. It's easy. And I thought, oh, we'll give him medicine. He'll act right. It'll be easy. Or, oh, I'll just call my local school district. They'll say, send him on over. We have a special day class for him. It'll be easy. And neither one of those has worked. And the one that finally got to me was, you're going to have to fight for this. And I think that's an interesting way for God to answer, or for the universe to show you that you have to fight sometimes to change that system. And that's not what we want to hear. I think that's or have been conditioned to hear as Christians. God's supposed to open doors. He's supposed to make it easy.
Rania?
Yeah.
I think you called the 3rd one the nuclear bomb.
The nuclear, yeah. I was going to set off the nuclear bomb.
And the other thing is IEP, individual education plan, so that people know what you're talking about.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, I had to set off the nuclear bomb, so to speak, because it means I might be damaging my relationship with the school that my oldest son still attends. So yeah. Go ahead. That's it.
Raina, you know what? One of the key things I took from what that you said, it just flashed in my mind. The system. You're not fighting just for your son. You're fighting to change the system. The answer to the
After you cut out on us, at least on me.
okay, the system is what you are dealing with, not for just your son. But changing the system means that it does not change it just for your son. It changes it for everyone. And Elohim changes things for everyone. Elohim made things better for everyone, even if it has to go through the torture of the Roman authorities, the lashing, the pain of listening at people make excuses for their ineptness. That pushes Elohim to change everything for those who don't know how or don't have the means to change them. Thank you.
And this is Ron, and I'm speaking out of total ignorance, okay? But I guess when I was listening to you talk, I was just wondering, are there any other parents who have similar issues and we're looking for solutions that maybe you guys can get together? I just think in numbers it carries a greater force. The other thing I thought about is there may be any children's advocacy groups out there that may also be able to help with finding a solution. So
Well, I've been working with those, Ron, and there's something about parents helping parents and that sort of thing. And I've been working with one of the ladies who joins us from West Hope on, that first Sunday, whose son was autistic, and even more so than Joshua. So she's been helping me navigate that system and that solution. And everyone I talked to has said that this third option I'm pursuing is the one that Joshua needs. That being said, at the school we can't ask, other about kids' medical issues. So there's one other parent I know whose son also has this, and she and I have not talked yet. But because it's the school, I've been a little hesitant to forecast what I want to do outside of the IEP team itself. But I would imagine at some point I'll tie in with her too, just to see what she's doing or why she's chosen to keep her son there. And he was in the same class with Joshua last year and could be as disruptive as Joshua at times. So I'm curious how she's managing that too.
Rainier, this is Rika. I'm going through the exact same thing, just at a middle school level at this point, as well as college. And I totally understand how you're feeling and struggling with it right now, dealing with it on both levels right now, with at the district level in the middle school right now, and at legal level in college right now. So I am with you. Call me anytime and we can discuss it further, but I totally understand where you come from and how you feel, and I battle with that too. And me and Pastor have talked about it, both situations, and he's kind of really helped me to understand the reasoning and rationale for why you need to do what you need to do.
Thank you, Rika. I'm gonna reach out to you. I have to get your number offline, but I'll definitely reach out to you.
I'll send you a number.
Okay.
Thank you, Pastor.
And that is who we are and what we're about. That is life, and that is no coincidence that all of us heard this. So we will all be in meditation over this and what we can do to help ladies and moms. I mean, whatever we can do to help. Appreciate you sharing. There's no coincidence that you share.
And
Thank
Ron,
you very much. Yes.
Ron, this is Barbara. When Jesus went into the temple, and that entity he's called the Messiah, the Savior, the Deliverer, went into the temple and to overturn the tables of the money changers. He was a disruptor of the system in a sense. And as I think Rainier said initially on, usually we don't think about being disruptors or having to deal with things like this, but
That's what it's all about. That's what we are called to be disruptors of the status quo. And so have no guilt about it. Just be open to what you're shown and then just move on.
And
Excellent
Barbara,
observation. Yeah.
that's the opposite of what we have been taught and what we taught. That's one of the major ways that the scriptures, that Christianity has cowarded us, has kept us in check, has manipulated and controlled us. We are Christian. We're going to let God handle it. We are not supposed to upset the apple cart. We just work through the system. No, you tear the system down in order for a greater system to be put in its place. Thank you.
And Pastor and everyone, I want to add one more layer. This is Kathy, and I'm going to speak strictly from the educational standpoint now as a retired educator. Having sat in IEP meetings for 39 years, I can assure you that those parents who use their legal rights, because that's why they're there, they are your legal rights, they get the respect of everyone in that school. And by respect, what I mean by that, no, they don't like to see you use your rights, but they also recognize that this is a person that will do whatever they need to do to advocate for their child. They will not mess with you, and they will not mess with your other son. They will whisper in the teacher's lounge, say, can you believe this is happening? We're getting sued about this, that, and the other. But when they walk in that classroom and your child is sitting in that room, they will now bring their A game because they know you're not playing with them. And so therefore, it's not wrong what you're doing. If you didn't need those legal rights, all those laws would not be there to protect you and your child. So do not feel guilty about what you're doing. And I'm just speaking clearly from observation as an educator and knowing how the quote unquote game is played in education sometimes. The people that are appearing to be passive, they just roll right over you, go in that IEP, say what they're going to say, do what they're going to do, dismiss you, and go on. But when they know that you know the law and that you're standing up for your child, they are now ready to work with you. And I just wanted to share that with you, Ramia.
Thank you, Kathy.
And,
I think there's also a sense of feeling like it's a guilty feeling, but then it's also a feeling like there's going to be some, can't think of the word, against your child if you pursuing is what I was going through.
Retaliation.
Yeah, that's the word. And you don't want that for them, but when things aren't taking place in a manner that they should be, it's like you're tying my hands now. Almost feeling forced to have to do something that you really don't want to do, but you really kind of have to do to make a change for not just your own, but others there to come.
I was listening to what Kathy and the rest of you guys were saying, especially with when Kathy mentioned the idea of letting them know that you're not playing. I promise you, retaliation will not be taken out against your child. Your child will not face that. The only way your child will face that is that you bluff them and they call your bluff. But the moment that you stand solid and let them know that whatever it takes, as she said, your child will receive no retaliation. I know from the things that I've gone through with the kids, not just mine, but even with kids in the last couple of years, the things I've dealt with them. Once they find out, once the attorney makes that sends that letter of representation, once you have hired an attorney, that's it. They're not going to play with you anymore because they know what they are susceptible to. So don't be frightened or uneasy about doing what you have to do because of that child who's coming through next, okay? You are Elohim. You are creating a world for children who are unable to defend themselves. Every time we listen at the news or read a news feed, somewhere in there, there's going to be something that someone did to a child, something happened to a child, some injustice that a child had to deal with. And in most cases, they were successful because the parents did not know how or did not have the means to respond. It is time for Elohim to do what Elohim is, and that is change itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And moms, ladies, we appreciate your sharing, and again, all the support that is needed. So thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Pastor, I'm gonna ask you one question, and we've already really talked about this, but I'm gonna ask it just simply because we're on the line, you're not knowing who else is on the line here. I'm going to read Matthew 4, this first verse, and I've got a question for it. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil or by the adversaries, what I changed it to. But my question was, because when your explanation, when you went over this, you said into a place where there was no life. And I just wanted you to go back and explain that, the significance of that as far as his challenges go. There was no life. And the reason why that is because we've all, or some of us anyway, I've said on the line, some of the things we've gone through, we wonder why we struggle over, or we feel defeated, or you think you're at this place and you find out that you're at that place because these thoughts keep coming to you, and these thoughts have a reason. This wilderness place, or this place that has no life, is all a part of the process, and we don't always recognize that. So if you would please, in your words, kind of how you described it before, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. When Jesus went to this, when I say a desert place where no life, it is evident to me that there wasn't life there, because where there is a desire to do things your way, or to live according to the material world, what your eyes can see, as opposed to what your eye sees. When we choose to live in this world by taking the word of our Creator and twisting it to fit what we want it to, there's no life there. And I'm not talking about breathing, I'm talking about spiritual life. And if there's no life there, you cannot give life to anyone else. You can only give death, which is walking around being a shell of a human as opposed to being a human. When the scripture says that, and the devil tempted him, or the tempter came and said to him, if you are the Son of God, command that these stones become bread. These are adversarial thoughts. This is not some being that was created in order to battle with the powers of God. The only battle that we have are our adversarial thoughts. And I want to lay a foundation before I go deeper into it. If I was hearing someone say that, I would ask, so what is the origin of these adversarial thoughts if it's not a being called the devil? Well, first of all, the adversarial thoughts came into existence at the same time that the thoughts of spirituality came into existence. When we look in the garden, we see functionality and dysfunctionality. Functionality are the thoughts of life, and that gives life to everyone. Dysfunctionality is a vacillating between the two, or a manipulation of what has been given to us for us to produce life. So these adversarial thoughts are there for a reason. Command these stones to be bread. You live on your own. You can produce everything you need without the Creator. It is simply you taking the bull by the horns and making the life that you want for yourself. When Jesus says, no, not so, it is written that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of Elohim. What Jesus is saying is simply this. What you are saying is not true, because man cannot live, the human cannot live unless it is living according to the concepts, the principles that we have been given by our Creator. That's what Jesus is saying. Life is a heck of a lot easier when we make the decision that we are going to live by the principles of our Creator and not by the principles of Christianity or the church. We are going to live by the truth that emanates from our Creator. What is that truth? That truth are the lessons that we are offering, the understandings of the scriptures that we are offering. Those are the truths that Jesus is saying that we must live by. Why does he say that? Because everything that was brought into existence was brought into existence by the word, by the desires, the thoughts of our Creator. And each time that it was brought into existence, it was said, it is translated, and he said that this is good, or it doesn't say that. It's beneficial, is what it says. Every word is beneficial for our comfort and existence in this earth. And those things that we consider to be discomforting are only discomforting if we are blaming it on a devil, as opposed to looking at the thought for what it is, looking at the action for what it is, and understanding it through the words of our Creator. So what I'm saying in essence is this: where there is no understanding of the words that emanates from our Creator, there is no life, because life is in the spoken word itself and not the manipulated word. Does that make sense? Thank you.
Thank you. Does that help y'all? Does that make sense to you? If you're like me, I struggle sometimes. Like, where did that come from? Where did that thought come from? Especially, you may be at a good place. You're having a good day and everything is going fine, and you just start having random thoughts and not knowing, being caught off guard sometimes, so to speak. All of these things kind of help keep us in focus, but they also have a deeper meaning. And I know just from talking on the phone, sometimes we beat ourselves up over these things. And I think we're past that. Past it meaning we have made the decision to be on this journey. So things are not that we always understand where we are when it's on a Wednesday afternoon and we're by ourselves and there's nobody to call or talk to, but just recognize who you are and then let that be your comfort. Okay? Any questions or comments? Because we've talked about a lot of things. Any questions or comments so far? Normally, I would say we talked for a minute. I just want to introduce something to you because Pastor mentioned it on yesterday. Because this whole thing started with us looking at Jesus being faced with his humanity, and he talked about it the first time here when he's stepping into his ministry. This happens after the mikvah when he is led into the wilderness. So that is his dealing with self. We sometimes don't see or appreciate his struggle. Religion has taught us that Jesus did not have the same type struggles that we did, and we've kind of bought into that. So it makes it harder for our journey unless we can see that the same contemplations that you have, he had as well, or the Word had as well. So if you will, or if you guys think it's a good time, if you want to do this, if you think enough has been said, please let me know. But I was going to ask you to look at Matthew 26, which is the second time when he's in the garden. There's a lot there, and we're not going to talk about all of it, but there's a lot there that kind of shows him dealing with his humanity as well. Now, would you? I'm asking because I know we've already talked about a lot. How do you guys feel? Do you want to go into this a little bit, or would you rather just wait and do it at another time?
Ron.
Yes, sir.
I think that we probably should do it another time. Or another time is that a time when we can devote to the understanding of this. And the reason I say that is because in thinking about what the garden experience, you can't do that without connecting the communion. And that in itself is going to take at least an hour, if not longer, depending on the questions. So I'm looking at a time period that's just devoted to that. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Okay. That's good, because as we said, we've already talked about a lot, and you know what? If we look, we can look at it another time. If not tomorrow, even another time, because what we do is the beginning of each session, we're driven by questions and answers. So, if that be it, we just at some point we'll come back to this. But it's a lot of stuff in here, and it's very, very interesting. So, and as Pastor said, he kind of gave you a hint about it. It is totally different than what we've been taught. So, but anyway, Pastor, you about to say something to somebody? I thought.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Hello.
Broke off.
It's overcast here, so I'm sure that's having an effect on us. Pastor, we haven't been able to get you back since you said, yeah, I wanted to. And maybe we lost him. While he's getting back on, y'all, yeah. If you will, please look at Matthew 26 and verses 26 through 39 is as far as I got. But we were concentrating on Jesus being in the garden, verses 36 through. You have to back up and look at this from kind of from the beginning of it a little bit there. So, Pastor, are you back yet?
No, Ron, it looks like you dropped for a moment.
Okay.
You may just be trying to get in again. Sometimes that makes things work better.
Yeah. and that's fine.
Ron, I have a question or an observation. When Raina,
Okay.
everyone was talking about the autistic issue, was that not an example?
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, hold on just a second. We have a question. Hold on just a second, please, sir. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Was that not an example of assembling what we talked about at the beginning about assembling and coming together?
I had not thought about it from that perspective, but yeah, I it would be. Yeah, I like that. That assembly thing, and I think several people pointed it out yesterday. That is spiritual. I can't remember if it was Audra or Kathy that said that. They didn't say it in those words, I guess. But that assembly is spiritual. It does not mean we have to physically come together. So yeah, when they were talking about that, I'm sure every heart on this line kind of met them halfway there. It's like, okay, what can we do? Start searching your heart and your mind. What are the solutions here? And even in the directions that they will decide to take or have taken, we are with them. We are one with them. So yeah, that's a great observation. Anyone else who's talking about, Pastor, when Raina started talking about her children autistic, having an autistic child, and the challenges that brings to the school system, with us discussing in that an example of assembling together. And so, yeah, at least I see it that way.
I would say too, Ron, that having Rika and Kathy speak from their points of view were things that wouldn't happen if I had kept this to myself. And so I agree that this is part of assembling, because we often bear these burdens alone, and we don't share with our larger community what we're dealing with.
Yes, indeed. Great example.
Thank you, Raina, for that. That helps. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Was there someone else? Yes, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. We lost you for a minute there. And you came back.
I interrupted you. I'm sorry. What I agree with, by the way, with what Vermeil stated. The reason I looked at this is because I did not want to get into the other the later winter, right? What I actually want is to stay where we are in terms of this time period where the weather appears to be okay. So the 5th and the 6th. The 5th, I at Great New Faith at at Foundation rather, at 10 or 11. Let's say 10:30, and at Great New Faith on the 6th at 11. And the reason I say it that way is because there are so many of us who are so many who are in our midst, who they're closer to either Great New Faith or Foundation. And I'm not talking, just discounting those who live in Maryland, New York, or Philadelphia. Actually reached them by Zoom while we were together. I'm not talking about come together for anything more than interaction, small talk, conversation, just to see each other, to be in each other's presence. And the desire and the reason I've chosen, hopefully, the right 2 days is because the weather looks better on those 2 days than it does on the other weekends. At least that's what it looked like the last time I checked it. So I'm actually asking you if you are amenable to this. What do you guys think?
Pastor Barbara, it would be fine with me. I just won't be in the country.
Okay. All righty. Anyone else? I might be going with Barbara. I'm gonna leave the country too.
I want to go in the baggage. You can just drop me off anywhere.
They on their way
I-
right now, y'all. I missed it too.
Guys, come off of mute and let me know. Are you amenable to this? Are you amenable, or whatever the word is?
Pastor, this is Evelyn. I won't be here that Saturday either.
Okay, let me do it this way. How many of you from Foundation will not be on the 5th? Just say me. I'll count you. I know
Me?
Barbara, Evelyn. I got Barbara, I got Evelyn. And was this another me?
Me?
Okay. Richard. I got 3, right?
And Rainia too.
Yeah. So we will come together at that point, at that time, unless there's a better time. But before we make that decision, Great New Faith, how many of you, let me know.
And Pastor, you had originally said the second weekend in November. So now,
And
I'm just asking clarity. You're saying now that first weekend.
yeah, I looked at that weather, and it didn't look like it was going to be okay. I'm looking at it again, and what I see on that second weekend is 67 and 70 for temperatures, both with partial sun. On next weekend, I see 76 and 71. So let me know how many of you will be available on that 6th, on the 6th. Great New Faith and my Monday night class.
Me?
Will not be available.
For me, Pastor, I would be available.
No, I will be available.
No, I want you to tell me those who will not be available. Let me know.
That the 6th, I can't be available. I cannot.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Pastor, if you don't mind, and I apologize. I'm not following your question. What it is you're asking about the dates and the times, and I do apologize. Can you repeat that?
We are going to come together to fellowship, to just hang out. And the reason I'm looking for weather is because of outside venues that we desire. So I'm asking those of you who are not available for that date, let me know, because if there are enough people who are not available for that date, then we'll choose another date. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So if I'm in town, I'll definitely be would love to come together. Sure would.
Okay, so my next question was, how many of you will not be available? That's the question. On the 6th. That's from Great New Faith in the class, Monday night class. Okay, so the 6th, we'll do it at Great New Faith. Now, let's get back to the 5th. The 5th, we had how many from Foundation who won't be there?
Evelyn will not be there.
Okay,
Barbara will not.
okay. Is that it? Of course, Richard and Rainier.
Right.
Hello.
Okay, so we'll look at,
I don't think I'll be there either, but I'm not sure, but I don't think I'll be
I
there.
already told you that. I kind of figured you and Sheldon. But anyway, that's Sheldon, Nick, and George and Lavon. That won't be at either place. And so many others on the phone. Now, the next thing is this. There are people on this phone who are not necessarily connected to Foundation or Great New Faith. So I'm trying to figure out how we can get, how many of you are on this call right now who's not connected to Great New Faith or Foundation or the Monday night class? Just say I'm not. And I'm talking about people who could possibly be there, who are in South Carolina, wherever. Okay? Okay. So the conclusion is this, that Great New Faith on the 6th and Foundation, I'm leery about, because there are some on Foundation that are not on this call at this moment. And that's more than the number that are on this call. So I'm kind of leery about setting it for the 5th for Foundation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
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 So what we will do at Great New Faith, we'll be there on the 6th. And then we'll have to look another date for Foundation, which may very well be the 12th. Okay?
Okay. But do we call in? Do we call in on the if it's just going to be no teaching? Do we call in then? The Greater New Faith.
I don't perceive that being in the teaching. I just want us to, if it's not for 20 minutes, just see each other again. That energy, that physical energy exchange.
Yeah.
Well, Pastor, have you completely canceled out for the 5th for Foundation, or you just up in the air about it?
I'm canceling it because of the number of people who won't be there. And that's not on this call right now. Now, don't get me wrong. The weather is very permissive for that day.
Let me ask you this, Pastor. We are going to get together, and I've said I won't be able to make it, but do you want anybody to bring anything in the refreshments? Do you want to, or do you just want to kind of do a meet and greet?
Ron, you know what? I hadn't even thought that far. My focus was on the, and I missed it. My focus was on us being together, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, I guess maybe some hot chocolate and coffee, and sit and stand and talk for a minute, or what do you foresee here?
I'll handle making arrangements for what we're going to do in terms of food or beverages. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
So
Good morning.
on the 5th, would we still meet for the conference call?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Sage, we will be studying on the 5th. We will be on Zoom
Yes.
on the 5th. Okay.
Yes.
Hey, Pastor, you did say it would be the 11, right? I mean, time is to be 11, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Time will be at 10:30.
Time at 10:30?
Yeah, I have a reason for that. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So the Zoom call then will still take place on that Saturday and Monday. So the 5th and the 7th will be as normal for us having the call.
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning. Is this, excuse me, is this open to all friends and members?
Yes.
This gathering?
Yes.
This,
By all means, yes.
okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Rev, just as a suggestion, for the refreshments, y'all just get with Robbie and Mr. Charles for the refreshment. That's a suggestion.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I like Amir's question too. I mean, that opening. Anybody that gets on this line, we're already family, y'all. Anybody on this line. So, I mean, if you live close and can stop by, of course.
And it actually doesn't matter which one you stop by. I mean, if you can make it, cannot make it to Greatness Faith, and you are closer to Foundation, then we'll be there on the 12th. Does that make sense? Hello?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Okay. So we set, are there any other questions or suggestions, comments? Please make them in regards to anything that we're talking about in getting together. If there are any suggestions, please make them, because I don't see everything, and none of us do. That's why we have each other.
Did you guys discuss the time at Greater New Faith?
10:30.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Now, don't get me wrong. If you can drive from Columbia on the 6th, that's fine. Or any place else for that matter. That's fine. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All righty. I guess we set, right?
Yes, sir. Sounds like it.
Okay. Ron, tomorrow, maybe a time where we can, delve into what you suggested, and we'll go from there. If not, if the questions do not lead us in that direction, that's where we'll be. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. You guys, thank you for your input and your presence. Ron, you got it.
Yeah, I have one other last thing I want to say, guys, and this will be brief. Pastor said something that really sounded soft and warm to me, and it sounded good. He was talking about time, and he said he'd like to stay where we are. Stay where you are sounds good. If you guys ever notice, sometimes we on the line and we'll have a discussion, and we may be an hour, 15 minutes. It might be 50 minutes, but it feels good where we are. And we stop right there. We never give thought to it. We stop there because it feels right. it feels right to stop right there. That's a place to pause. That's a place of conclusion for that day. And it just feels good today to stay where we are. Just to stay where we are. And if I could kind of bottle that up, that's special to me. But anyway, that's a feeling and experience to me, and not just words. But thank you for letting me share. I hope everybody have a great day. Look forward to tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, fam.
Bye.
Thank